Week 5 of the NFL has happened. And while there are some pretty good stories this year, Washington, who saw them starting 4-1, right? Minnesota, 5-0. What's going on over there? But through 5 weeks, we're also able to kind of piece together here, for those of you who are fans, some really big tales of woe and sadness. Because there are a number of good stories, yes, but there's also a couple of really big disappointments this year. And I thought we would start things off here on a high note by talking about the biggest disappointments in the NFL so far through week 4. Now, I want to get a couple teams out of the way here before I get to my one team that I think is the biggest disappointment so far in this going through week 5, 2024 season. I want to get some other teams out of the way here. Obviously, I want to talk about the New England Patriots. All right. Yeah, they're horrible. They're 1-4, but they're not my most disappointing team of the year so far, because did anybody expect anything out of the Patriots? You've basically got a full team turnaround. You got the new coach in there. It's going to take them a little while. Nobody expected much this year. So that is why I'm not going to mention the New England Patriots right now, at least anyway. Also, the San Francisco 49ers. What are they now? 2-3?
Yep.
2-3 after blowing one.
Yep.
Another one.
Another 10-point blowout in the end, fourth quarter. So
And look, obviously this is a team that you got to think about when talking about the most disappointing results so far, because this very high on Super Bowl contender list for a lot of people coming into the season, right?
Yeah.
So why don't I have them as my most disappointing team? Simple. Injuries. They literally had a game or two where they were without Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuels, George Kittle. I don't think Ayuk even missed a little bit of time.
Ayuk had a slow start because he was out because of the contract.
That's right.
dispute,
So that's right. So he had a bit of a slow start, right? So they literally have had multiple games where they were without multiple of those guys, or at least one of them. Of course, Christian McCaffrey isn't even in the lineup yet. We'll talk about McCaffrey a little bit later on as well. Well, then our LA Rams. We live in the LA area. You were at yesterday's game.
Yes, I went. Yeah, it should
You were
have
at SoFi
just been Los Angeles Lambeau Field, because it was 80% Packer fans, which most Rams home games are.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah,
at
any
Ram
legacy
games.
team, it's always just the other team's fans. So
So they lost again.
they lost. Yeah, it was close till the second half. And
Now,
then
so they're
went
1-4,
Mhm.
but again, you're talking about injuries, right? The two best players on, well, first of all, Donaldson's not there anymore.
No,
Sam Donaldson. So
Yeah.
one of the best football players of all time, not there.
Yep.
That's fine. But even this year's roster, Puka Nakua's out.
Yep.
Cooper Kupp is out. Those are easily your two best players.
Mhm.
They're out. Matt Stafford's getting a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
He's starting to show it a bit too.
I think they have some questionable play calling. Like yesterday in the first
Oh, of
quarter,
course,
they could have kicked a field goal early in the game and got some points on the board, and they just got stopped on fourth down, which
was kind of early in the game
it
to do
was in
that.
the first 5 minutes of the game. So I don't know why they did that. I know he's trying to be aggressive, but I think between the injuries, Stafford, they have some picks. I got to make some decisions though, because they're 1-4. Stafford's getting older. They're going to need a quarterback eventually.
I'll tell you right now, this season's a write-off.
I think so, yeah.
They've got to start thinking about the future, but they're not my most disappointing team of the year so far.
Okay.
Again, injuries, and I don't think a lot of people were expecting a lot from them anyway. I'm going to mention another team that might surprise you. Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Now, you might say, John, they've been without, their main guy, Tua, right? But is anybody else shocked about just how bad this team is, even without Tua? I mean, they got a win yesterday against a bottom dweller. I mean, yay, well done.
Yeah.
But I mean, like without Tua Tagovailoa, they've looked completely hapless. They've looked completely lost. It looks like Junior A going on out there. So, but they are not my most disappointing team of the year so far. I will tell you my most disappointing team of the year so far.
Do they wear orange?
They wear orange with some
figured.
little black stripes.
Yeah.
And it's good Ray has the day off today because he would be weeping over in the corner. Cincinnati Bengals are easily and by far the most disappointing team. And I'll tell you why. It's for a couple of reasons. Number one, we talked about the San Francisco 49ers. The expectations, I don't think anybody was saying that the Cincinnati Bengals were the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year, but they were in a lot of people's top 5, top 6. You got Joe Burrow coming back, all this kind of stuff. And to Joe Burrow's credit, I mean, they've kind of been lighting it up. But take a look at this record here. They lose to the New England Patriots, which arguably
should count as 2 losses, honestly.
Yeah, we should count as 2. Yeah. You're right. That should go down in the records as 2. They literally lose to the worst team in the league. Then they lose a squeaker to the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what? They always played the Chiefs tough. That's great, but close doesn't count. It's still a loss. Then they lose to the Washington Commanders, which in hindsight now isn't a horrible loss. There are 4-1, but still, that's another loss. Then they beat the Carolina Panthers, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. They beat the Carolina Panthers. So they got a win there. And then they just lost in a heartbreaker to the Baltimore Ravens. They lost that one 41-38. I want you to look at these scores again. 16-10, 26-25, 38-33, 34-24, 41-38. They've never been known, at least not in recent years, as a defensive juggernaut. They are giving up an average of 31 points per game. And that includes taking into consideration that first game against New England where they only gave up 16. Burrow just threw for almost 400 yards, 392 to be specific, almost 400 yards, 5 touchdowns to just 1 pick, and they still lose. So, I mean, they still have the problem they've always had, like ever since Burrow came. Like their offensive line is better now than, say, in his first 2 seasons. They're still not a top tier offensive line, but clearly they're scoring points because look in those, okay, take out the New England game, right? They scored 25, 33, 24, and 38, and they're 1-4. 25, 33, 24, and 38, and they're 1-4. Offense clearly ain't the problem.
It's not. It's their defense. Their secondary, a lot of their main secondary guys got injured. One blew out his ACL before the season even started, so they can't stop anybody. So basically, they can put up as many points as they want. The other team could just put up more because they can't get any stops.
And they're still suffering from some key badly timed turnovers as well.
Yeah, and like you're saying, like besides the Carolina game, everything was within 7 points.
Yeah.
So they're really hanging in there and coming back. It's just they can't get the stops they need, and it's just and like you said, those teams, none of them are like the best of the best. So
you did have Kansas in there. Yeah, give them the Chiefs.
So, but if you can't take care of business with the Patriots and the Panthers, you don't have hope for the playoffs if you can't beat these teams.
What are some other teams that you might I did or didn't list that
a lot of the ones
really
you said were the ones I had? Niners especially because they're supposed to pretty much run away with the division. All the rest of the NFC West teams are not that good. The Rams, I had hope for them, but injuries kind of killed them. But yeah, Dolphins, same thing you're saying with the injuries. The Bengals. Other than that, I kind of had higher hopes for the Packers with Jordan Love, but I think since he kind of got injured,
he's been injured.
So I thought, but
the Packers will be
good,
fine.
Yeah,
I think the Packers will be fine. And with I've also got to remind myself of this with the 49ers. Last year, I think they had a streak there. Debo was out for a bit. Yeah. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And they went on a losing streak before the end of the season, but ultimately they're fine. I think once the 49ers are completely healthy and they start to groove again, I think they'll be just fine. I don't know that they should be a favorite to win the Super Bowl anymore. A lot will have to do with whether McCaffrey comes back, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. Talking about the disappointments, the teams. Maybe it's your team that is one of the big disappointments. Who do you think is the biggest disappointment through week 5 in this NFL season? Jump on down to the comments and let us know what you guys think.